Hello, welcome soul brothers and soul sisters to Motor City Hollow Crown. For some reason that I do not know what it is, every single time there is some sort of Vampire the Masquerade campaign, for some reason storytellers do some sort of before the show starts by themselves, hello from me to you, can you dig it? And so, not to disappoint, I'm gonna tell you right now that I am right now and right here, your DJ and storyteller, DJ Trooper SJP, coming to you across the airwaves on WVTM, your Vampire the Masquerade channel. All the best hits, all the groovy tunes, sometimes also some murder. That's me, here to you and I together. I hope you are doing fine on this Tuesday evening. I suppose at this moment I should introduce you a little bit to some things to think about today, or shall I say tonight. It is October the 30th, also known as Devil's Night here in Detroit, the Motor City, the town with the gowns and everything going round. I hope you're feeling great downtown. Yes, indeed. So on this night, it's 1973, but I think you already knew that, all you cats and kittens. In this city, we've had some troubles here in Detroit. That is certainly true. Well, just 6 years before, we had the Detroit Uprising, which some of them people like to call the Detroit Riot, but hey, between you and me, let's call it an uprising. That was the night that after, excessive amounts of police violence, the people of the city of Detroit rose up and burned everything to the ground for a couple of days until, well, the National Guard and the 101, all the army came in and just pacified things. Some things you might want to know, though, is that, like many a city around the world, there's a group of vampires that live here in the Motor City, or at least there were a group of vampires that live in the Motor City before this mass amount of fire. About 140, 150 vampires living in Detroit. Oh, the old former Prince was a Ventru. You might have seen him. Old money. Kurt Whitney, one of the Whitneys. Well, after that fire, most of the kindred left the city. You know, they decided that perhaps it was a little bit too hot to handle. And the vampire flight out of the city began. Well, that's only the beginning of it, though. Right after the uprising, our political structure, not the vampire kind, though, decided that they need to get tough on crime. And they started putting together a number of police units, specifically one called Stress, which is, about keeping our streets safe. That was spearheaded and masterminded by the chief of police, a man named John Nichols, who decided that what the city needed was a group of undercover plainclothes police officers that would just hang out in high-crime neighborhoods and shoot people. Weirdly enough, they also started shooting a lot of vampires. Just, I suppose, coincidence. And vampire allies, also, I assume, coincidence. And then some fires hit vampire-controlled businesses. I also assume that is coincidence. Well, after about that, most vampires decided to leave the Motor City for good. After all, I have to say, the Motor City was never... I mean, it was a nice city for vampires, but the kindred power structure never was really able to get their fangs into the city's infrastructure like they wanted. They always tried to get into the police force, and they couldn't. Into industry, but they couldn't. So many avenues that vampires with their special powers, they just look you right in the eye and they can make you do whatever they want, never seem to stick. So, they left, one by 10, by 20, till We had about 30 to 40 vampires left, the ones that wouldn't or couldn't leave, mostly in the inner city of Detroit. That was when a man, well, kindred, Ronald Gains decided, Toreador, that he was going to do something to try to fix this city in some kind of a way. Because you see, cats and kittens, with all those undercover police just killing people, and the city still half burned down and not really fixed, somebody had to do something to keep the kindred who were left safe. And that was Ronald Gains, and he spoke to all the different kindred who had some sort of influence who were left. And we'll be meeting some of them today, or tonight as it were. And he said, let's make a brand new Primogen Council. Let's reform the court. And he did. After one vote, some negotiations, he became the new prince. Prince Ronald Gains and his Primogen Council. Well, they are the seven. But we'll talk about them a little bit, perhaps, at the moment when I introduce some of our Primogen. Well, but I suppose what I should say that you might want to know is that it took a couple of years of rebuilding. A plan began to emerge. A grand plan. And that is, Prince Ronald Gains decided that Detroit would have its first black mayor. First person of color mayor. He decided to back a candidate named Coleman Young. Coleman Young has been a great campaigner for civil rights, and he stood up to the House Un-American Activities Committee, and he very much is against police brutality. Can you dig it? He's sworn that if he gets elected, he will dismantle stress and do intense police reform. Nice. On the other side of this election is good old John Nichols, the former chief of police, who invented stress and is running tough on crime, wanting to keep all the undesirable elements out of the city, if you catch my drift. Well, that election's going to be in 8 days. Coincidentally, this miniseries is also 8 days, and we're starting on Devil's Night. So, without further ado, cats and kittens, oil crisis, trouble in the Middle East. Oh, I suppose I should mention, there is someone else who cares about this city. I hope you're excited to hear about the Detroit Renaissance. Detroit Renaissance, that is a private company, well, not really a company, more like a nonprofit, perhaps, made up of the most powerful and important business leaders in all of Detroit and Michigan, including Ford and Chrysler, and they've decided that they are going to rebuild Detroit in their own image by making a huge, massive influx of money into downtown Detroit to build the Renaissance Center, and I'm sure that will only be good for everyone. My friends, welcome, if you do not mind, to Motor City Hollow Crown. Oh, yes, indeed. and
I love that red.
I love the red too. Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the mini-series premiere of Motor City Hollow Crown, our non-canon Vampire the Masquerade 8-part mini-series. We're going to start tonight and go for 8 weeks, and then, we'll just see what happens from there. You might want to know...
I'll pray on it.
You pray on it. Pray on it. Oh, my friends. I was just chatting in chat in one of my streams where Werewolf showed up, and Werewolf said something. I said something. I was like, oh, yeah, I know exactly what this is all about right now. I mean, secrets. Don't worry about it. It's going to be really good. Unless you, well, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. What I am going to say is I want to say thank you all for being here. I appreciate very much everybody's presence. You being here is what makes the show work. Thank you for supporting us. And there are ways you can support us. Number one is by being here, or if you're watching on YouTube, hitting like and subscribe. Thank you for all of that. If you want to donate tips or bits, I will be reading out any of those tips or bits donation messages at our intermission and at the very end. You can also donate you can be a member of our Patreon, and there's a special tier for our sponsors. That's $200, which will pay for one show, for the cast of one show for 1 week, not including me. And you can go and join one of our sponsors. If you are, you'll get a special radio message at our intermission once a month. And all of these sort of proceeds go to pay for the cast and for the art and music, and if anything's left over for me. And you can also join our Discord. I think those are all the ways I can think of to support us. So let me begin. Are you switched? Oh, I can just fix that. One moment. Give me 1 second. People are switched, and we cannot have it. Then... Yes. Thank you. So, let's begin, why don't we? Now, people who have played on one of my long-term games before, I'm going to note that I've got my notepad, because I like to have everybody introduce themselves and then answer a question. And that question is never anything to be worried about. So, I'd like our cast to introduce themselves, say who you are, say who you are playing, the name of your character, not the clan. I think I will introduce that, just surprise. But I think the question that I would like you to answer is... I'm torn between one that is like less juicy and one that is more juicy. No, I'll just go with the more juicy question, because why wouldn't I? So, who you are playing, and we know that Ronald Gains, the Prince of Detroit, was voted by the Primogen Council as Prince. There are 8 of you. And he got the majority of votes. My question to you is, did you vote for Ronald Gains? And if you did, why do people think that you voted for him as Prince? Not necessarily the actual reason, but why people think that. And I suppose as a bonus question, why are you the Primogen for your clan? So that's it. That's my 2-point question that I would like to ask. So, let me introduce our Primogen. Starting up alphabetically, I would like to introduce the amazing, the marvelous, the badass, cool, thoughtful, and interesting April Raygun, who will be representing Clan Nosferatu.
Hello, hi, my name is April, and I will be playing Della Holloway, that you now know. And questions, Hate having a name that begins with an A. Um, did I vote for Prince Ronald Gains? Yeah, I did. Everyone thinks I did. Everyone knows I did. It wasn't secret. It wasn't hiding anything. They were the one who asked. And
Why do people
why?
think you voted?
Because they
Like
knew he was.
if you
Oh,
said like,
they.
oh yeah, why did the Nosferatu vote for the Toreador? What would they say?
He treated the Nos like they were normal. He walked in, didn't bat an eye.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And why are you the Nos Primogen?
No one wanted it. We drew straws.
Mm. Fair.
I lost.
Mm-hmm. 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 I see. I see. Well, I suppose we should go to the next of our Camarilla Primogen. Yes, I think our next Camarilla Primogen is going to have to be played by Dimples and Dice, who will be representing Clan La Sombra.
Yes, hello everyone. I am Prince, also known as Dimples and Dice around the internet. I am a he, him. And I am going to be playing Reverend Luther Cornelius Joseph. As you can hear from this, I am of the clan La Sombra, and the reason I did not vote for Ronald Gaines was because I had been politicking for a while with the previous prince, and I thought that we had an agreement that perhaps I would be the man of faith for our sect. And unfortunately, Gaines said he needed a little bit more trust in me. So I needed a little bit more trust in him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Excellent, excellent. Now, why are you the Primogen for La Sombra?
Because my clan follows my lead. They believe in
Mm-hmm.
the things that I am capable of doing.
Mm-hmm.
There was no better choice.
Hmm. So, I heard a rumor, though. I mean, the rumor I heard, I don't know if this is true, is that you came into the city before the uprising with all of the La Sombra in tow. You just showed up with a handful of La Sombra in your back pocket.
As I said, my
Hmm.
people believe in me.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, I suppose that means the next person we should turn our gaze toward is someone who I am very excited to be here. Now, by the way, just so you know, uh, Dimples and Dice is going to have to be in a Dynasty RPG with me at some point in time. That is just a true statement that has to be done. Just has
I
to be
dig it.
done. Can you dig it? Just talking about Shaft. Or, so Vin is somebody who I have seen about for quite some time, and I was very excited to bring them here onto this channel to play. And April Raygun gave me the in, and that was all I needed. And I am so excited to have them here playing the Primogen for our next Camarilla court member. You know, Zemish.
Hi guys. I'm Vin. I've been VoxVA on Twitter, he, they, and I'll be playing Charlotte Lottie Hughes, the Primogen for Clan Samitsi. Tomato, tomato.
Fair, fair. Now, tell me about your vote.
Unfortunately, I didn't vote for the prince. I feel that not Samitsi, so many T's, Toreador are just pretty little things. They don't have the head for politics, no matter
Hmm.
how fanciful they find things.
Hmm. Interesting. Now, why is that what people say about you? Do they all think that is so?
I believe so, and it's fine.
Mhm. Hmm. Now, let me ask you, why are you the Primogen, or the Zemish, Tzimiski, etc.?
Because I did what needed to be done for this place. I worked hard. I did all the smiles, all the right talk, and now I'm here.
Mm. Needed to be done. That doesn't sound ominous
Not
at
at all.
all. No, I'm sure it's fine. Which leads us to the fourth of our player-controlled Primogen, uh, Werewolf Fields, who gave me all the feels in a Tunnels and Trolls two-shot, and who I adore greatly, and who will be representing Clan Banu Hakim.
Hello, everyone. My name is Werewolf, or Thordine Lee. My pronouns are he, him. Today I play Kasim Al-Kaf, also pronouns he, him, the Primogen of the Banu Hakim. Well, I did vote for Gaines. And most people simply regard it as someone had to break the tie. And so the guy who never votes voted for the very first time, or one of the very few times. And that specifically is the reason why I became Primogen of Banu Hakim, because there is a schism in my clan. There are those who wish to ally with the current forces wreaking havoc through the city, and there are those who wish to fight back through, especially those who represent union members and the like, who wish to fight back against the overwhelming amount of stress, let's say. Naturally, they couldn't come to a decision on who could represent them best, so the one who was the silent one managed to be the one elected, because if they can't agree, at least pick someone who won't do anything.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Indeed, which leaves, of course, just a few more votes on the council. Our Primogen Council also has a Bruja, Roscoe Williams, who voted for the prince. Tremere, Elena Ochoa, who did not vote for the prince. And Davis, who is the representative for all clans who do not have uh, enough people to merit their own Primogen, who voted yes. The prince abstained. Well, now the prince, our Toreador, Ronald Gains, abstained from voting because he thought it would seem unfair.
I will add,
Mm.
Luther did not vote no. He abstained as well.
Mm. Interesting. I will just note it. Now, I should let everybody know because not everybody was here a few years ago before the uprising. Um, our good Reverend was a Primogen on the old Primogen Council under the old prince before everybody left. That's interesting. You are the only one who was a bridger, who was on the old power structure and is now in the new power structure, which I just think is interesting. Survivor, I suppose. I guess. Well, so it is Devil's Night, October 30th, 1973, the night before Halloween. Devil's Night is a night of pranks. Young kids like to throw toilet paper. You know, egg houses, set buildings on fire. Sometimes. Sometimes more frequently than other times. With increasing frequency, I suppose is the best way to put it. But this night, the prince has called a meeting of the Primogen Council. The Primogen Council is, well, I suppose I should say something about dear Ronald Gains, and I suppose what is happening. Ronald Gains is working really hard to get Coleman Young elected to try to change this city. Other forces are working really hard for that not to happen. Tomorrow night, Halloween, will be in Elysium. All the kindred of the city are invited to show up and to talk about what's happening. But before everyone meets, Prince Ronald thinks it's important to meet with the Primogen Council. He is quite democratic in that way. He's got a little bit of the socialist revolutionary about him. He does not, however, have a seneschal, who is the person who is the go-between between the prince and everyone else. Can't get to the prince without a seneschal, and he does not yet have one. Instead, everyone has to go through the Primogen Council. Your clan will go through you to speak to the prince, and if you do not have a Primogen, you do not have a representative on the Primogen Council just yet, then you will go through Davis, the representative. Now, I will say the sheriff is not, the prince is not alone. In addition to the Primogen Council, there is also the sheriff. The sheriff is Fatima Hakim, newly arrived just a few years ago from Tehran. Banu Hakim. She was appointed sheriff after our vote yes from our Banu Hakim Primogen, although that I'm sure is coincidence. Fatima Hakim is the hands of the court. We also have, of course, the voice of the court, who is our keeper of Elysium and herald, Bao Nguyen, who owns a sort of chain of Chinese food restaurants. He's not from China, he's from Vietnam. 1973, a number of people have come here from Vietnam. But the public kind of just goes for Chinese food, and so he has Chinese food restaurants. He has a couple of small Vietnamese restaurants as well. And most of our meetings happen in the sort of back rooms and upper floors of one of his many restaurants, the private rooms, which one is always a bit of the last minute alert, just for security's sake. The court also has the eyes and ears of the court, sometimes known as the Velvet Scourge, Blue Jean, who's Hakata. Blue Jean is, well, some other places you might have heard about a scourge. They run around and just murder people, I suppose. If someone's causing trouble, they kill them. That is not what Blue Jean does. What she does is keeps her ears to the ground and just notes what's happening. Everything that's happening. She talks, of course, to Della. They seem to know each other quite well. But if there are any new kindred in or out or anything strange, Blue Jean probably knows and will let the prince and the Primogen Council know. There is, of course, one other person who's important to the court, but not a vampire. Mason Hora is the prince's advisor. She's a candomblé priestess from Brazil. She came here before the uprising, around 1965, and she traveled here because of a vision that she had. A vision of fire, a vision of death, a vision of desert. Well, it's complicated, whatever it was. but she knew that Detroit was where she had to be. And ever since she arrived, she's been doing two things: training people in candomblé from her community, strengthening the mystical and syncretic uh, magical forces in this space, and being a very, very fast ally to the prince. He's almost nowhere without her there, and she guides through her visions as necessary. And this night, Devil's Night, the prince has called you all to discuss how things are going in the plan to get Coleman Young elected in 8 nights' time. Each one of you has told me some of the spaces that you have interests in, and I will tell you some of the things that you may have found out that you may or may not share when you all arrive. I'm going to start with our Banu Hakim. Might you tell me what your areas of your influence interests are?
Of course. Kasim has two areas of influence, as I think does everyone, at least the player control Primogen. A friend in the health department, one who works with the underprivileged to make sure they have access to health care, allows him access to the secrets of the health sphere. And of course, Kasim is naturally undercover at your local police department and thus knows more about the police, or at least what he thinks is the police, than your average person.
Interesting. Well, how long have you been in Detroit?
I've been in Detroit since hold on. My brain stopped working. 1968.
Good year.
Yeah.
Good year. Great
Lovely
music.
year.
Well, things that you might know concerning the healthcare industry. There is a lot of discussion about revitalization of downtown, rebuilding Detroit, at the same time that white flight is making everyone with any kind of money and all the white people leave the city to the suburbs. What you'll notice is that the hospitals are suffering under an increasing lack of budget. The tax base is crumbling, and everything is paid by tax bases. And so, with City Hall has priorities, and those priorities, if you have only a limited amount of money, a decreasing amount of money, really they are to keep the city safe. And so, most of the money is going towards policing, and much less to the hospitals. I will note that your contact has mentioned that earlier there were a lot of people from your neighborhood who were coming in, illness, sickness, but many of them have stopped coming as the care becomes less. She asked once, and she was told that that many people are going back to a more and they call it folk medicine, I think is what they call it. She is a little bit concerned because she thinks all of that sort of hoodoo is nonsense, and she's worried about people getting good and real care. But your contacts give you the sense that those who are not being cared for uh, with the increasingly underfunded traditional means are turning towards priestesses of various sorts. mystics. Hmm. Yes, that's what I think they would be called, of many different traditions. Chinese medicine practitioners, candomblé priestesses, santeria, all sorts of folks. Seems to be a whole explosion of, I suppose, what she would call superstition at the moment. But at least that's something. She would note, however, an ever increasing amount of people coming in due to, let's say, police violence. Which leads me to your second area of influence, law enforcement. Well, the police are enthusiastic. Enthusiastic. They believe it is their job to keep this place clean, and the best way to do that is through watching and just seeing if anything bad might happen. They've sort of taken to hanging out in places they think bad things might happen, leaving out things in case bad things might happen, like, unlocked cars, perhaps, and then when perhaps a bad thing might happen, shooting those people. And there has been an increasing number of police homicides. The people that you know in law enforcement seem particularly excited about doing so, and it's weird. They never police the neighborhoods that aren't black, brown, yellow, poor. Because there's no crime in those places, of course. So what can you do? Now, I will say that there are very, very, very few people of color on the police force. It's almost all white. The very few police officers of color sometimes also get murdered accidentally because they're undercover, so they just couldn't tell, that they were one of their colleagues. So that was awkward. I will say, having been there for a while, you will notice a couple of things. That the police force have specifically stress. They have some, what would you call them? Consultants. I think that's what you'd call them. Yes, and these consultants are, for a long time, it wasn't very clear what they were. Perhaps National Guard, perhaps military, but stress, which of course stands for Stop the Robberies, Enjoy Safe Streets. It's an acronym, of course, because who doesn't love acronyms? They've been having these consultants to help with targeting and management, all completely with the approval of John Nichols. And some of these people you noticed at one point in time speaking Old Church Latin. And they didn't really seem to be, National Guard to you. But they did seem to have government contacts. If you ask about them, you were told that they're just with the FBI and not to worry about it. But they seem to be, well, whenever a vampire gets hit, it seems to be off of one of their tips. Then our Primogen, Simiski, Zimish, what are your areas of influence?
I believe they are bureaucracy and the university.
Now, how long have you been here?
Not too long. I would say maybe 3 or 4 years tops.
Hmm. Yes. So, bureaucracy, paperwork, post office, city hall, DMV, records. What's interesting about that is that these are places that are traditionally um, easy to infiltrate, not hard to do at all. And you have found that we are in a space where people of color are beginning to get jobs in bureaucracy. They're becoming postal workers. They're getting work at the DMV. They're getting a little bit of space. And within that space, you've had a little bit of entrance, a little bit of influence. What is interesting to you by checking here or there is that your influence only goes so far. There are people at higher levels who seem immune to your influence. You're not quite certain why. Perhaps they're bought out by someone else. But a little bit of looking around, ears to the ground, seems to indicate that they also were not bought by the previous prince either. Previous prince seemed to try really hard to get to the upper levels of bureaucracy and also never really got particularly far. You will note, however, that there has been, shall we say, a number of permits passed very quickly for Detroit Renaissance, which is the new organization. Uh, all of the most important people, including George Romney, everybody who's anybody, all of the oldest, richest, and most powerful families in Detroit and in Michigan have dedicated and committed to bringing in huge amounts of money, donating millions of dollars to rebuild the city. And they're going to need land and space to do so. And they got all of their permits expedited very quickly. That is what bureaucracy will tell you. The university, you have some great universities here. University of Michigan, of course, right? Wayne State, there's some great stuff here. You have noticed a couple of things from your space in the university, and those things are the following. It's pretty open. The universities themselves are a little bit hotbeds for actually a lot of protest. A lot of the student organizations are pretty radical, and a lot of resistance and oversight and radical change has come from university spaces, just not the top. And whenever you try to get to the top of the university, a little bit too close, some very rich person gives a lot of money for an endowment. Also, the entire board of trustees for all the major universities are also the same people who are a member of Detroit Renaissance. That's also what your investigations there have shown you. It's a little bit odd. There's been some firings recently. You had a professor who was well known for being a specialist in the anthropology, but very specifically anthropology of like witchcraft and other sort of superstition. Actually, fairly well renowned. Did a whole sort of process of going down to the Amazon and sort of studying how sort of sympathetic magic works and all of that, and wrote a pretty good book about it. People were really excited about their work. Was beginning to do work on Voodoo in Haiti. Was like, sort of like a very well-respected scholar. And she had tenure, of course, full professor. She got fired the president of University of Michigan found that there was some, I think the word was that her scholarship was not up to snuff, that it was really a little bit too mumbo jumbo-y, not really the sort of image of the new Detroit, and she was fired along with uh, her grad students who were working with her. And they have left to go to another city. Word has it that there's a bit more of a push for science, technology, engineering, mathematics, a lot less for things like art history or anthropology. Uh, the arts and humanities are being downplayed. Technology is being, especially engineering, is really where all of the interest is going. And the brand new president of the University of Michigan, very good friends with everybody at the Detroit Renaissance, is spearheading the move towards a more innovative, forward thinking, and future looking University of Michigan that will train their students with the kinds of skills that will make them good workers in the future, and to make University of Michigan the jewel, the technological jewel of the Midwest. Prince, or should I say Reverend, what would be your areas of influence?
So obviously church
I'm surprised.
and political.
Mm. Yes, interesting. Shall we start with the church?
Top charger.
Let's start with the church. Like everything in this space, it's very segregated. You have a strong, well, let's just say you've got white Protestant churches and then all the rest of them. Basically, is how it is set up. Basically. All of the rest, we'll put the Catholic Church to the side for the moment. All of the rest of them, most of them are being settled within Detroit's downtown or a little bit outside Dearborn. You've got very strong mosques. You have Baptists. You have Pentecostals. You have Methodists. You have the Nation of Islam. This being the home of the Nation of Islam. This is a pretty wide-ranging bit of sort of churchiness, but those churches, for the most part, are working at helping to rebuild. The people of the city who live in Detroit are in distress. After the uprising, when things were burned and shelled and bombed and let to burn, many people never got their businesses back or their homes back. The number of unhoused people has, of course, bloomed and blossomed. And the churches have stepped in to help feed people, to help support people. At the moment, a lot of these community churches are doing very important work in keeping people together and giving them hope in a very sort of desperate time. The sort of work that they're doing is, well, let's say they're getting a lot more influence. However, they're not the only sort of churches that are gaining more influence. There is a rise of non-traditional churches. There are some sort of mystical Shinto practitioners. There's a huge number of now Candomblé, Santeria, Budon, syncretic sort of mystical churches cropping up everywhere. The number of sort of like fortune tellers actually has also risen quite a bit. Fortune tellers, faith healers. There's sort of like a rise in many ways. And you've been here for a while. Exactly what year did you arrive?
Let's see. We're here in what year now? Is that
73. The
10 years
uprising
ago?
was, I see, 1963. Well, that's interesting. You said 63. What I will tell you is that the rise of non-traditional religions, folk religions, did not start happening in any appreciable way until after the new advisor to our current prince arrived in Detroit. Before my senora arrived, it was more dispersed. What I will say that since you have sort of churchy connections, there has been clearly from her end a greater influence in not spreading her own religion necessarily, but strengthening and unifying those people whose religious practices involve a slightly more mystical bent. And they have been making their presence felt within inner city Detroit. And as for politics, we're in the middle of an election at the moment, and this election is unprecedented. There has never been a person of color who's been the mayor of Detroit, ever. And if people have their way, that will also not happen this time. They have brought out the big guns. They brought out those people who represent all of the interests of the suburbs of Detroit. The businesses have left. The jobs aren't here. Things are collapsing. And in this moment, politics and industry are holding hands to, well, rebuild the city. There's some concerns about what it means to have white flight in terms of who will be elected mayor. There have been some attempts to assure people of the right class. The right class, that Detroit is not lost, and that perhaps you should move back in to vote in this election. And if not, well, the mayor might need to make sure that voting booths are safe. You know, perhaps have a stronger police presence around all the polling stations, just to make sure that no dangerous people. I don't know if you've heard, this is actually quite big in politics right now. The Black Panthers and a number of the Young Lords, a number of these radical movements they're terrorists, you know. And they're dangerous, and they're probably going to try to bomb some of these polling stations in a few nights' time. So the government is very concerned about radicals, especially now with all the trouble happening. So it seems as if the governor, who's quite active, is planning on, along in conjunction with the mayor and with their friends, are going to make sure that the elections are safe and on the up and up. And from what you've heard, there is a sort of a bit of a mobilization happening, and there are plans to make sure that the polling spaces are in safer neighborhoods, or there are more of them in safer neighborhoods. I think you know what
Indeed, I do, brother.
I mean. Mm-hmm. And so, starting with an A, April, Della, what are your spheres of influence?
Industry and transportation.
Yes. Yes, those are good ones. How long have you been here?
Got turned here and probably around early 1900s and never really left since.
You've been here that long. Oh,
Might have made a few adventures out of town, but nothing. Didn't stay far.
interesting. Hmm. You've been here the longest, it seems. Well, well. Oh, my dear, dear Della. You know, Detroit, Motor City, the city of industry, one of the biggest ports, very important. Canada right across the way. This is the place of all places. And this is the place where 1890s, a bit before your time, I suppose, not that much, when all the great robber barons came here and made their fortune. Now, if you remember from your early days, were you paying attention to vampire life way back then?
Probably not, but we traveled a lot. We heard stories. We saw some things that not a lot of people saw. And we took a lot of people in that were a little different. So,
Hmm. Well, I can tell you this. Now, don't listen to what the Reverend has to say about this. The Reverend may have some thoughts that are a bit different, but the Prince never was really all that great to people who were not super rich and wealthy. He was not the. Uh, he was an old blue blood, let's say. Let's say.
yeah, I
Good
don't
old
think it was
Prince
a
Kurt
secret.
Whitney. No, no, no. He probably would not have let the Reverend in as a Primogen if the Reverend did not come with like 6 or 7 Lasombra and just had the numbers. But he has been the Prince since before you returned. 1890s is what you've heard, and he built up a very powerful, powerful structure. If you recall from around the 1900s, when you returned and sort of saw what was happening, he ruled with an iron fist. He was always very polite, but he ruled with an iron fist and he ruled everything. He had the industry in his back pocket. He had all the things you needed to have, he had them. He was what you would imagine a good, old, powerful vampire prince would be, using dominate and all of those things to control the kine easily. And that was perhaps his greatest strength was in the 1920s. The 1920s was also the time when all that sort of, a lot of, well, you remember actually, mysticism became quite big at the time. You know, the teens and 20s, they found, Tutankhamun's tomb and all of that sort of stuff was happening. And there was a bit of a rise of mysticism and esotericism in the 20s, which a number of people thought was a number of reformers, like people who wanted to have prohibition and whatnot thought was quite ungodly. There was a bit of a backlash about all of that. But sometime starting in the 30s, his power started slipping as far as you could tell, at least with regard to industry and transportation. And over time, the heads of the industry seemed no longer to be under his control. They seemed to be under no one's control. They seemed to be their own people, uninfluenceable. This was something that, if you recall old Elysiums being conversations that people had a lot. Your old Primogen, the old Nos Primogen, who is now gone, was always being tasked to try to figure out how to get in or who was stopping them, who was blocking them. This was something that was getting increasingly upsetting within vampire circles in the 40s, 50s. When World War II started, it got much, much worse, actually. Post-war vampire influence in Detroit, in the halls of power, but very specifically in industry, became almost nothing. And that was very, very distressing for the prince and actually the entire old council. And they kind of stopped talking about it. And your inroads show that once all the vampires have left, except for those who couldn't or wouldn't, it's not gotten any easier to get any influence. It's all of those CEOs almost all of whom are in Detroit Renaissance, that organization, a philanthropic organization, seem to be immune from vampiric influence. But they also seem only to want the best for Detroit. Um, that's what they want. Um, yeah, the building, Detroit Renaissance, is under construction. It's a couple years before it will be um, built, finished, of course. But there's a lot of construction going on. A lot of construction trucks coming in and out of the city. Always some sort of metal from places coming in and being set up. The roads are always busy. Transportation. I don't know if you know this about Detroit. You do. You have areas of influence in transportation. Um, there's a little video that I will share with you at some point in time, but you know, way back in the day, far back, Detroit burned to the ground and was rebuilt. But it took a while for it to be rebuilt because there was a visionary, not a vampire. That might make you feel better or worse. I really have no idea. But there was a visionary who said that Detroit should not be rebuilt the way that it had been before. He had a vision of creating a geometry, an architecture for Detroit. He wanted Detroit to be laid out under a very specific pattern, a very specific road pattern, where it would be a number of spokes out from the river with a circle around it. And so all of the major roads were built. Well, that was his goal, at least, have everything be under special triangles with convergences, with each road sort of happening around a special green spot. He wanted these very special triangles, and he worked very hard to get the city to look the way he wanted it to look. He wasn't completely successful because other forces blocked that plan. The underlying, I don't know what you would call it. I'm going to use a phrase, but I wouldn't take it so seriously. Sacred geometry or mystical geometry of the city's planning was marred by people who did not want that to happen. But the traces of that infrastructure is still here. 14-Mile Road, 8-Mile Road, all of these roads that bisect the city, creating lines like veins or ley lines, just lines through the transportation network. But that was a long time ago. Now people complain about traffic for the most part. Lots of bad traffic trying to come in and out of the city. Yes. So, my friends, those are things that you have found in your investigations up till this point. And by the way, I have a really great video to share with you all later. You will love it. It's all about the geometry of Detroit. Don't ask, but it's there. Yeah. Oh, I should remind you of one thing. You know the sewage system in Detroit. You know, somebody snitched, I don't know who, to the federal government in some way, saying that there was some sort of problem with the sewage system in Detroit, some sort of problematic things, dirty, I suppose. And
Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
so the government agents have been snooping in Detroit's sewers just to see if there's anything to note. Some of them seem to be accompanied with those men in black who were speaking Old Latin. that some other people might have seen. Well, nonetheless, it is Devil's Night, and the sun sets, and I need you each to roll a rouse check to see if you become more hungry or less. And please note, because the rolls, the character sheet is wrong, it is currently broken at the moment. You need to just check yourself before you wreck yourself. So it will say that you failed, but none of you did. Like, none of you failed your rouse checks. So make sure you go into your character sheet and just take that hunger off, because you aren't hungry. As the sun sets, yes, please.
I would like to make an additional rouse check to do a small ritual before I attend.
Please. Please do.
Hmm.
What is that ritual?
There's been a lot happening in the city lately, and I don't trust any of it. So I would like to use a ritual called Deflection of Wooden Doom. I place a wooden splinter, in this case it's just a toothpick, underneath my tongue until I am staked, and then I roll, but I do the rouse check first. And I do fail this time. Nice.
Is there a difficulty involved in this ritual?
There will be, but unless I'm staked, I don't have to roll it at all. I believe it's 3.
Okay. How long does this ritual normally take?
The actual casting of the ritual itself and placing the wooden splinter under my tongue takes around 15 minutes, 5 minutes per level. It's a level 3 ritual, but it only lasts the night. So if I get staked tomorrow, even if the toothpick is still in there, I'm not protected whatsoever.
Let me ask you a follow-up question. You started it. Did you do this ritual before you came to Detroit? Like when you were out in the world and other places? Where were you before this?
Oh, all over, throughout the Middle East. Although I first arrived into America via New York. I have been in Lebanon, Syria, my birthplace, Egypt, France, hated that place, Israel, Palestine, honestly, too many places to name.
Would you do this ritual in those other places?
I have, yes.
You have?
I learned it from an old sorceress somewhere in Tunisia.
Well, 15 minutes, you say? Doesn't take you 15 minutes here. It takes you... How long it takes you to complete this ritual here varies. It seems to be... Sometimes it takes you 25 minutes before it finally finishes. Sometimes you can get it down to about 15. Sometimes it hits 12, 13 minutes. Sometimes. Started when you first got here, you could sometimes get it done in about 10. But the length of time it takes to complete this ritual has been increasing. It's just become increasingly difficult to do it. It just takes more time and energy. Just a bit more work to get the workings to happen. Sometimes there seems to be a flurry of activity from Me Senora, and then your times come back down to a bit normal. But that seems to be a lot of work on her part, if it's connected at all, which it might not be. But there seems to be something that makes your sorcery just a little bit... It's like you have to push through... like thick humidity. You know what I mean? Like it's like cutting through humid air. It's doable, it's fine. It's just as if the city itself is resisting you in some way. But it is done. But it is done.
Let's just hope it works.
It is a small Chinese restaurant. Is where the meeting will take place. It's a 3-story building. The restaurant itself is on the ground floor. Very small. The second floor seems to be dry cleaners. The third floor is just, as far as you know, well, as far as anyone else knows, it's just a small office spot. But of course, that's the place where you are to meet. I'd like to know who arrives first. And how do you get here? Please.
The good Reverend is driving his Cadillac, of course.
What color?
Oh, it's black.
Interior?
Also black.
I just wanted to know. I need to know exactly what kind of reverend you are. If there's gold involved in your Cadillac, I just needed to know.
Oh, yes. The trim is gold in the inside, of course. But it's black on black with gold interior. I mean, with the gold trims and stuff like that. It is not discreet exactly.
And as you drive through the city, do you have a driver, or are you driving yourself?
In this particular case, I'm driving myself.
As you drive through the city, you see the skeletons of buildings still unrebuilt. You know, like a building that had burned and is now just it looks like something out of a war, really, to be honest. Rubble, piles of bricks, just still sort of laid out on the street. Unhoused people sitting with a bottle of Ripple and a paper bag, seated on the side, warming themselves up by a fire barrel. You see people trying to go about their lives. Somebody with a big, cassette tape playing music. Somebody on roller skates. People without jobs, wondering. Some other people laughing. But it's somebody with their 2 women holding hands, arm in arm, trying to grab some joy in this moment. Some kids playing around with their parents on a stoop watching. Small grocery shop, a little bodega, a little free clinic over there. You see over on that corner 3 members of the Nation of Islam in their suits and bow ties, all crisp and clean, just making sure that little old lady gets home safe. People policing the neighborhood in their own ways. Always watchful, though, just in case somebody may not be from the community. As you make your way through the city, down the abandoned spaces, into Chinatown. In front of this small little building, with the light on in the 3rd floor and the restaurant itself bustling. What are you listening to on the radio?
Actually, I'm listening to the news. This is some of the few times that I actually get to sit back and actually hear what's going on through the city from what the city is saying, instead of, secondhand through my people and things of that nature. So when I'm driving by myself, I'm usually listening to news.
Mm. The news is there's something about 1973 where everything seems to be smoggy and a little grim. You don't know what the president is doing, Nixon, what's going on over there. You know? It's got a sense of a little bit of depression going on in the space. And as you're sort of moving through the space, the news, gas prices are soaring here in the United States. The oil crisis continues. This is your DJ, troopersjp on VtM. Let you know that there are still protests. Your Multicultural Council of Detroit wants to know. They wanted an investigation on the death of 3 young men who were members of the Panther Party, the Black Panther Party, at the hands of the police. John Nichols claims that they had guns and they attacked our undercover police officers first, but don't you believe it, can you dig it? Well, election's coming up in 7 nights. On other news, progress on the Detroit Renaissance Center is moving apace, but I will tell you what. I've seen the plans for that place and it looks like a fortress to me. Detroit Renaissance calls it a city within a city. That doesn't sound like anything I want in my Detroit. Well, Motown Records, now off in Los Angeles. All the factories out in the suburbs. That just leaves you and me here in the city. But that's all right, because I've got some tunes that'll bring you through. But first off, make sure you get those souls to the pole. WVTN out.
There is a moment of pause when Luther hears that police killing of the Panthers. And you almost see someone staring at him through the window. The fangs come out. Just a little bit of rage slipping off the mask there. But composes himself, straightening up the outfit. We get to this restaurant.
When you walk into the restaurant, it is busy and loud. There is just the kitchen is chaos. Somebody's yelling something, and you've got a pretty packed group of people. Everyone in the not everyone, but I'd say about 80% of the restaurant is speaking in Cantonese. Another 10% are speaking in Vietnamese. You've got a pretty multicultural group for the other 10%, and they're all crowded around a small one of the walls where there's a projector and a small little projector, and it's showing Bruce Lee films. And people are watching these Bruce Lee films, and they're like cheering and having a good time while food is coming in and out. But you know the way through the kitchen up to the top floor.
Just walking through. 晚上好.
And people know, they've seen you before. They know you. And they smile because you have a good reputation. You're a reverend. And you're respectful. And there's a very, very old man who looks at you and once you pass, says something to his nephew who's working there as well about being respectful and making a name for yourself, and look at him as a good example as you make your way up to the top floor. At the top floor, of course, when you come into the room, you have to knock, and Bao lets you in in his slick suit, huge dagger collars. He's very in his like long, sort of feathered hair. He is a bit of a heartthrob businessman, but he lets you in. The sheriff, Fatima, with a really cute sort of 60s sort of mod haircut, scarf just sort of loosely draped around her head, sits in the back just sort of calmly. But the prince and his advisor are sitting behind a large sort of round table with seats for everyone, and looking at sort of newspapers. And he smiles when you see him. And the prince himself is wearing like a black T-shirt with a vest, and he's got like a cap, and he's he's got a cigarette, but he doesn't breathe, so he has to sort of force it. So he usually forgets, right? So most of the time it just kind of sits there and dies out, and he's got to relight it. But he's got sort of like a frizzy afro that's sort of balding a bit. His clothes are a bit scruffy, and you can see he's sort of intent. And when you come in, he goes, "Oh, hey, Reverend, come, sit. You're the first to
Thanks,
arrive.
Gaines.
We've got a lot to talk about. Who is the next to arrive?"
Uh,
Oh,
no, go ahead.
oh, well then, by all means, I'll be next.
How do you get to the meeting?
I think Lottie would take a different route and would actually walk.
You've been here a while. I know you used to have a jazz club back where you were before. How well do you know the bars and clubs of this place?
Not very well, mostly because I've been quite busy with the comings and goings of Primogen ship, or as it
Mm.
were.
That's fair. As you walk through the streets, people. Let me ask, how are you dressed?
I would say modestly by 60 standards, just a simple dress, make sure everything is prim, proper pressed.
Mm.
Someone clearly going to a business meeting.
As you walk through the city, you don't stand out. You fit in. You hear people talking about being laid off from work. You hear people talking about wanting to get, maybe there's a loan shark they can get a loan from to fix up their space. You hear complaints about the heat not being turned on, even though they paid. Somebody's always stealing their copper pipes, wondering when it's going to change. It's going to change sometime, right? People nod at you, giving you space. You seem like you're meant for business. But you're dressed nice. And people see that. And some people, it gives them hope. And there's certainly, especially older people who used to live in Black Bottom, the neighborhood, the sort of middle class black neighborhood that they just destroyed to put the freeway through. Just kicked everybody off their land. They do that sometimes. Especially people who are from then, who were like looking fine in the 1940s. They see you and they sort of nod and smile to think young people are still dressing fine. And it seems as if for some, seeing just a regular everyday citizen looking like they've got somewhere to go makes them feel good about the neighborhood. And of course, you make it through to this restaurant where they know you well, up to the top, and you knock. Bow lets you in, the sheriff, and in you come, and you see, of course, the Reverend's there first. Of course. The prince. Ah, yes, yes. Ah, please, come in, sit. Have you seen the rest?
I can't say that I have, and of course, hello, Reverend.
Praise Jesus, you are here, Miss Gaines.
Hughes, but you're trying, and I
Sorry,
appreciate
Jesus,
it.
it's been a night already.
Yeah.
I can
You
imagine.
hear about those brothers that got killed, right?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Who's next? Hmm. Please.
After my
How do you
ritual,
get here?
I simply take a taxi.
Hmm. Ah. You take a taxi. In your taxi, your taxi driver, hey, Mac, where you headed?
Uh, this Chinese restaurant. Hold on, and pulling out a small place with the address, I handed over, like a small little ripped piece of
Uh,
paper.
oh, yeah. You gotta be careful over there. Tell you, Mac, over in that place, that neighborhood, that's, well, I don't want to scare you any, but that's ruled by the Black Vikings, that, street gang. So you just be careful.
I mean, look around, man. Is there any such thing as a safe neighborhood these days?
Well, me and my family, we're gonna move outside. We're gonna go head out, the suburbs. Figured, it'll be safe there.
You
But,
too, eh?
yeah, feel like this city's, some bad elements moved in. I mean, no offense to you. You seem perfectly nice, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, well, do you want me to stay?
No, just drop me off. That's fine.
Yeah. Ah, all right. All right, well, hey, what do you think's
Hmm.
gonna happen with Syria? Do you think it's gonna get to a whole war?
There's no way to know now. What's the point of freaking out?
Yeah, well, I got a son and I don't want him to be, sent to war or anything.
Well, so far, it's mostly been contained to locals, as far as I know. The Arab-Israeli war just ended.
Yeah. Well, I was in Korea, the Korean War. It's terrible times. Well, I don't know.
I have an ancestor who was in World War II.
Oh, yeah?
Not a pretty
Oh,
time.
nah, I missed it. Gotta watch out, though, because I'm gonna tell you something.
Hmm.
Word on the street is that there might be a war here anytime. With the election. I wouldn't be surprised. Hey, listen, there are these Black Panthers, White Panthers, these anarchists, these communists. I heard they've got an army, and they're gonna do some kind of a coup. Watch out. Be careful.
I'm not too worried.
All right, Mac. Well, hey, here's my card. If you, not all the cabs are gonna come into this neighborhood, so you can give me a call. There's a couple, if you find a payphone that works, give me a call. I'll come and pick you up.
Of course. Thanks. Uh, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Who are you voting for? Mayor, I mean.
Me? Oh, Nichols. Gotta keep our streets safe, you know what I mean?
Yeah. He's
You
a
too,
favorite
right?
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he was also chief of police. Oh, gotta respect
Yeah.
somebody who could keep the city, safe after all that stuff that happened, them riots. Just people going crazy. For no reason, you know?
I mean, with all these people moving out these days, there's bound to be some tension.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, cross my fingers. Nichols will come in and sweep out all the trash, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Hey,
crossed fingers.
yeah. Anyway, give me a call. I'll come and pick you up.
Of course. Oh, here's some, and I hand over like a sizable tip for the extra
Hey.
trouble.
Thanks a lot. Hey, anytime you need me, just find a payphone. I'll be by.
Of course, don't move out too soon.
Hey, Jimmy. My name's Jimmy.
Cass,
Cass, nice to meet you. Hey,
nice to meet you too.
thank your ancestor for his service.
Thank you for yours.
He pulls you up in front of that restaurant and then drives off fairly quickly.
And like letting out a long groan. Kasim opens the door to the restaurant and, without acknowledging anyone inside, knows exactly where to go.
Up at the top after the knock. It's kind of like a secret knock, but not really. Bao lets you in. And there, you're not the first to arrive. The Reverend is there. Always the first. Always. Della is there. The mystical advisor is there, of course. The sheriff is there. And the keeper of the Elysium, Bao, is there. The Velvet Scourge, you never know where Blue Jean is. They're the only ones there at the moment.
Reverend, Lottie, my prince. And I pull out a chair and sit down without saying another word.
The prince smiles at you with a kind of a warmth that makes it seem like you have a good friendship. That's when...
The Reverend's just like, Salam alaikum, brother.
How many times do I have to say you don't have to do that?
I'm just trying to show the proper reverence to people who don't necessarily believe what I believe. We are all brothers under God.
It's nice to see you, Kasim.
Where is Della? I thought she'd be here by now.
Somewhere.
That narrows it down.
I mean, knowing Della might be here right now, or somewhere climbing on the side of the buildings, or something of the sort.
That's when there's a knock. Bao opens the door, and in walks this very, very old black man, wearing like a white suit that is all rumpled and a skewed tie, and he's got like a beard and a little sort of soul patch, bushy white, and he's got a hat that's all a little bit crumpled, and he walks with a cane, and he sort of walks in, and he looks at you all. It's Roscoe Williams, the Bruja Primogen. And he goes, well, Reverend, Lottie.
Give me some skin, Brother Williams.
Oh, and he moves much faster than people who are not in this room would expect, right? With a kind of a celerity and grace that belies the aging of his body. And he slips over almost like fluidly, his like cane in his hand, and his hand comes out, and he just slips you some skin, pounds it, and he goes, all right, I like these young people. And he sits down as if his bones were tired, but with his potence, that he could probably break this table.
I'll add that Luther looks like he's maybe 20.
Yeah. I don't think he is, though. Who's next?
I think Della's usually one of the last people to show up.
Mm-hmm.
She's just always a little late, not really wanting to be there. It's kind of a twist of the arm, but she knows she has to show up. But she'd come through the sewers, pop up in the grate, right?
Yep.
It's weird how these restaurants have a sewer access. It's
Well, they need it, you know?
interesting.
Or the government needs to come in and fix all that. You know? Yeah. When you make your way in, there's a back door if you wanted to do that, if you didn't want to go through the front, because there's a entrance in the back, which goes right into the alley where the sewer grate is.
Yes, she would come through the back. I would like to do a rouse check though, because
Please.
I would be using unseen passage as I travel.
Mm-hmm. And I would note the door would be open. You know, they know who's coming, and who needs to have their time. You know. Let's see what we have here. That's a.
I think I passed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you did. So
Okay.
make sure that you reset your
Take
hunger.
that, fake hunger. I did.
Fake hunger. After your knock, you are let in, and you are seated. And it's not too long before Davis arrives, and she has got this massive afro. She's a sort of like medium tone black woman, and she's got this massive afro. She's wearing like a sequined jacket, and she's wearing like the coolest bell bottoms with patches on them. She is flash, 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 and the hippest. And she just comes grooving in. She's got an afro pick in her hair. And she comes in and she sits, she sees you, Reverend. She's like, Reverend. As if there's some picking up on some conversation you'd finished that probably did not end up so well. She sits down next to you because that's the seat that's open. And after like 5 or 6 minutes, the Tremere has not yet arrived. There's a wait, a wait. And the prince says,
Maybe
well,
we should just go on up without them, right, Prince?
all right. All right, all right. Everyone, officially this Primogen Council meeting is adjourned. It's here. We're here. So, what have you got for me? Wait. Probably something else first. Yeah. May. And he gestures to this woman. Very deep, deep, dark-skinned black woman. Wearing like a white kerchief and a shawl. And she steps up and she sort of has a bag. And she sort of tosses this bag out onto the table. Right in between all of you. This sort of, it's not a full circle, more it's like an oval. And she looks at what seems to be a collection of chicken bones. And staring at them, she says, you. And she points to Della. I see a rat cross your path with a heron needle in its throat, and it will die. And then she turns to the Reverend. You. The dryers of all of your flock will turn backwards. Whatever laundromat they go to, everything will be backwards. You, Lottie, I see a fried chicken restaurant and raccoon will destroy everything in the trash behind this restaurant. Someone you know will be there, and there will be a pattern in those bones. The pattern is of importance. You, Cass, Beware of salt. When you need it, it will all fall to the floor, and you will need it. Prince, your next book will be a success. But success will be ash. Davis. I see you in front of a vacation sign at a travel agent, but letters are out and all you can see is Kane. Roscoe. I see a flock of pigeons settling on a statue in the park. Park you like to settle at. But then they all flee. And you will see no birds for 3 days. That is what I see. And then her eyes turn milky white. Someone is moving. I see a shadow. There is a shadow. I see. Something you want, you will receive. Something you do not want, you will receive. There is a mask. The mask bleeds from its eyes, and it is made of iron. Has spokes and wheels. Wheels like Cadillac, Chrysler, Ford. Motor City is a mask. The spokes are stakes that will murder you all, that will kill, that will bring blood. But do not be distracted by the mask, for it is only the hollow crown. And her eyes clear, and they are the sort of the dark eyes that you are used to. I must rest. And she rises, and she sort of leaves, most likely going down to the floor below where the dry cleaners is, where there is like people can sleep there if needed. Prince goes, well, I am working on a new novel. It's a story of a private detective on the streets. Good that it will do well.
But your success will be ash.
Maybe.
Kasim leans back in his chair and lets the wood creak a little bit. And I'm going to turn on heightened senses to try and I'm trying to see one, if Elena's on her way. So I'm really closing my eyes. I focus on my hearing, but also the shadow, the ash. There's just too much symbolism going on for my liking.
Before I answer that, what else is everyone else doing at this moment?
I mean, Luther doesn't believe in anything that just happened.
It's all a bit of mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, that's a mumbo jumbo, and I believe that woman needs to discover the Lord. Because I truly believe that some of that could be good, put to good use, but right now it feels like the devil might have his hooks into her.
What happened to all kids of the same god, eh?
Listen, I understand that me and you have some philosophical disagreements, brother, but some of us are not, well, speaking from a place that borders on, well, I'll be crass for this just a moment, insanity. You need to get that jive out of here. But that's not up to me. That is up to the Prince, Prince Gaines. I understand.
Her visions have but always been right on. Let's hope knowing the future might help us get prepared for it.
I believe in shaping the future, Prince. We can do that together.
Now, what about you, Lottie? What do you do after this moment? Before I answer, Cass.
She's doing her best to remain composed. Uh, it's not. They don't feel like it's mumbo jumbo as the Reverend says, but they do think it's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just trying to remain stoic.
What about Della?
Della is unmoving and just watching everyone's reaction. They probably only time they would have seen her react was when during her fortune, which a little giggle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cass. Kasim. You open up your senses and you can smell the restaurant. And it is delicious, I suppose. You still ate. You can hear May Senora sort of praying downstairs, clearly in distress. She seems concerned. It's in Portuguese. You can hear the sounds of traffic. Could I get from you a roll? Could I get wits awareness?
All right. And there's some bonuses here thanks to Auspex
Mhm.
giving me a +1, and I get a +1 from blood potency when I use powers.
Mhm.
Yes. I think that may end up good for me. But we'll see.
3. Mm-hmm. You listen and smell and think through the shadow. And you see a flash in your eyes, in your mind's eye. It's a whisper. It's a message. It's something on the wind. And it's Elena. And you can hear her whispering. You don't know where she's whispering from, but she says, no, 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 no. The lines are not right. Why have I turned this way and that? Someone's stopping me from getting here. Traffic. It's as if the streets are turning against me. I must break out of this. I must be there. I must warn them. And it's just a whisper on the wind. As if from far away.
Elena's being waylaid.
Right on?
There's something preventing her from coming, she thinks.
The prince frowns deeply. Hmm. Looks to the sheriff. who nods, and Fatima steps outside. You know that she's going to be on the hunt.
Good luck.
And as she closes the door, you see her, and she smiles a kind of a... As far as everybody knows, you two have not met each other before. At least, she did not come at the same time you did. But she gives you a smile that is the smile you give an old friend, even if, as far as anyone knows, you've never met each other before, at least anyone in this room. As she heads out, and you can just hear a sort of a click of her purse snap, which is never a good sign. You don't want her purse to open. That usually means you'll die. So, with that, the prince turns to you all and says, "We'll have to begin. So, my gang has been on the street getting as much information as they can. I want to know what you all have found. We have an election to win in just 8 days. And that's when we're going to take our break. My friends, we're going to take a quick 10-minute break. I want you all to stretch your legs, drink some water, hydrate yourself, and when we get back, the Primogen Council meeting is in full effect. Yeah, we will be right back. And we are back. Welcome back, everybody, for part 2 of episode 1 of Motor City Hollow Crown. Hey, no, I have a really cool bit of trivia, but I'm not going to tell you now. I'm going to tell you at the end. Why? Because I feel like it'll be more fitting then to tell you the really cool bit of trivia at the very end. That said, when last we left our exciting Camarilla Primogen Council, which consists of a Toreador Prince, a Nos Primogen, Zemish Tzimiski Primogen, Lasombra Primogen, Banu Hakim Primogen, Bruja Primogen, Tremere Primogen, and the representative who is meant to speak for all of those clans who do not yet have critical mass to have their own Primogen. And they are all at this table, sort of like it's not a round table, it's more of an oval table, in the 3rd floor of a building that has a Chinese food restaurant. You know the kind of Chinese food restaurants that has you like, that's sushi. Okay. All right. Nasi goreng is okay. Okay, I see. This is that sort of catch-all. I got you. One of those restaurants. But it also has a secret menu. Not just for vampires. And it's also just a secret menu. Like, you can actually get actual spices. And then you also have your Keeper of Elysium with you. Your sheriff has left because there's some trouble with your Tremere Primogen, who seems to be caught up in some sort of loop and not able to arrive. And also, your sheriff went out to go and find them. And the advisor, your mortal mystic, has spent some time giving a bit of a vision and has now left. And we are here at this Primogen Council meeting, and your prince, Ronald Gains, who Toreador, but not that kind of like, I like the opera Toreador, but I like to write crime novels sort of Toreador, about like life in inner city Detroit, is sitting amongst you all to decide what to do about this election coming up in 8 days. 7 days, I suppose, now. All right, so you all went off to learn some things. What have you learned? The Black Vikings tell me that the neighborhood is being hit by the man left and right. That stress is stepping up its attacks.
Well, all of them
Blue-
think that Nichols is going to win. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, yeah, well, we're gonna have to find a way so that Nichols doesn't win. Catch my drift? You dig?
And that is exactly what we're working on right now. I have gathered a sizable number of the peoples, the various churches in the nearby area, to rally the vote, if you will. So far, it seems that they're a little bit afraid, a little bit spooked. But I believe that with proper motivation and protections in place, we can make sure that we get those people out there. I've already started to arrange transportation, buses, things of the like, because you know the redistricting and they're making things a little difficult for my people. But I think we got a strong following. I think we got a good number of folks that get out there and vote.
I can bring security from the Black Vikings. They can, cruise in and make sure that people don't feel too intimidated getting in and out.
Well, I had some Panthers on my side, but I don't know how they feel about all this right now.
Nichols is suggesting sending police to monitor polling places.
Can you do anything to... what can we do to make that not happen?
A miracle? It's difficult right now. They're all emboldened. They're all pushing and pushing, right? That's why we're seeing more death, more violence. And they have some consultants that are just the kind that speak old Latin. Not your kind of Latin, Reverend. Old Latin.
That is usually a bad sign.
And are you saying that we've got the Inquisition here in the police force?
I'm saying that they know too much and they are far too effective. We either have an Inquisition on our hands or a mole. Neither one lightens my load.
We have something. More feds are showing up.
What do you mean?
Someone said something about the sewers. We've had people showing up in suits speaking Latin.
In the sewers?
Also, while you're talking about transporting people, they definitely have someone in there. Something about triangles? The roads are shaped like triangles?
Spokes of a wheel?
Oh, that,
Yeah.
yeah. Special green places of importance. They don't really take care of much of them in the town anymore, it seems like, but
Elena would know more, but from my limited experience, there's a lot of mystical symbolism in the number 3 and in triangles. Geometry. Sacred.
It's no good. Look, what you got, Ella?
I don't know if you've noticed, but those people in charge of building stuff, old Prince used to keep him in his pocket. They ain't listen to anybody anymore.
Okay, well, they've got to be...
No one can get to them.
You've got to be able to get to them, right?
Not necessarily. That seems to be a weird correlation between the city hall, post office records, even university. It just seems to stop as far as my influence goes. But I could be able to slow down some ordinances, some permits and such, so maybe we can get a better grip.
Okay. So we need, all right, so they're gonna go and bring out the pigs to go and intimidate all of us at the polls. All right. What about, like a parade or something? If we can maybe either ditch some permits or add some extra permits, maybe more things might make it more difficult for them to see. I like your idea, Reverend, of bringing people in.
The medical community has less funds by the day. If you could find a way to give them money to conduct their efforts, I'm sure they'd let you spread word.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
many of the people.
what do you think? I'm thinking, what if we could get the cops? We get them like the blood drive or something. Maybe we could like some way we can distract them, so they won't be as effective.
Even better, we could perhaps give the police a parade, celebrate our heroes, and there would be less in office, and we can have someone peruse.
I dig it. I like where you're going. Some sort of boys in blue. Okay, Reverend, you're good at I don't want to say propaganda, but you got away with words. What if maybe the parade that Lottie's thinking about, what if it meant to celebrate, the bacon, but it looks a bit overhanded? Maybe it could rile up our people to want to go and come out. Maybe too much presence right before the election could backfire on them and be on us.
Well, yes, we could do that. I would warn, if you will, that we would definitely put some of the flock at risk.
Give
All right.
me, Reverend, but you are losing flock as it is. A show of force, faith might be exactly what you need right now.
Oh, I can certainly rally the faith. The Lord is with me when I speak the words. However, people will get hurt. It's inevitable.
And
The
it
pigs
shouldn't be a
ain't
problem if it's inevitable, Reverend.
You okay putting your people in the front line?
in this situation. I okay with it. Well, I think of this twofold. I believe that we can absolutely do this, and I believe that I can get the flock out there and be a little disruptive. But we'll need something from our potential mayor, I believe.
Look, here's what I'm thinking. Tell me if you feel me. What they want is violence. They can get violence before the election. That'll just strengthen Nichols. Say that what he needs somebody like him in charge of things. So we can't have any violence. Because that'll just feed the man.
Well, not to badly quote Malcolm X, but is it violence when it's in self-defense? We make them attack first. It may cost us,
No,
but
that won't mean anything. You know they control the media.
Okay.
I-
All right, so
I
who
do have
can we
something.
get the
though.
media?
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. What if we get Mr. Young on the radio?
Okay.
Have him help to prop up that nonviolent message, and we get those stations and networks and things of that nature all out there. We need everybody to be there. If they're going to use the media against us, we need all of the media to be there because somebody has the Lord within their heart, and they will do the right thing.
Okay. I've got some publishers, but they're long term, not short. Anybody have got radio, television? But it can get radio, television. Okay.
That stuff will never catch on.
I don't know. It seems it maybe
I got a
movie
contact at the
theaters.
network.
Okay. All right. Lottie, what do you got?
Well, I don't necessarily have the media, but I could possibly go around the university, make some talk, converse with the rabble, and maybe work with the university radio if they have their own media.
Yeah.
Go there.
University radio. That they're always a bit free. Maybe some underground newspapers.
I can see if
Got
I can get
some.
the word out.
Yeah. All right. So this is what I'm thinking. We gotta keep our eyes out. They're gonna try to provoke us to do something and try to spin it so that there's violence on the streets so that Nichols can win. We gotta make it seem, I like your idea, that maybe they're the threat. We need to push hard on this, pointing out what they've done. You see what I'm saying? But if the Inquisition's involved, that's bad. Look, you're the council. We're the only ones that are left here in Detroit. All them jive turkeys left. So, my vision is that we are the only thing that is standing between the kind who are stepped on and that inferno corruption brought by people who would be quick to slit our throats and theirs at the same time. I don't think that they need keepers and not like those old kings and queens before. They need us. People of Detroit need us. They don't have
Yes,
any
sir.
moves. They call us monsters, but maybe they need some monsters on their side.
If we were truly monsters, the Lord would not let us continue to exist. We are the chosen.
I like the way you think. Kasim, how close can you get to Nichols?
Closer and closer every day, but may not be quick enough to take.
No, he can't die. If he dies, they win. But can you maybe get him embarrassed or drunk or something? You know what I mean? Like, can you get him?
That would make him
Show
more
his-
relatable. Look at who he's up against. A Michigan senator, a judge, and good old downtown police chief, Nichols, who just got fired.
Yeah.
I mean, they're on his side. That's as plain as can day. The more we make him look like a normal person, the more the white vote gets harder and harder to erode.
Something. Can we do some kind of? I don't know. Like, what would make him look bad?
I got an idea.
What you got?
They're gonna camp out in front of us. I can send some people to camp out in front of his place. Little protest. They'll sit in.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And get that
Okay.
arranged.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Look, we're in this together. We gotta stay strong, keep the faith. Has anybody heard anything about the old regime? Okay, good. They left, they're not coming back.
I certainly don't think so. And if they do come back, they're sitting at the bottom of the totem pole, if you ask me.
Yes.
I met Whitney all of once, but he didn't seem the type to give up easy the moment an opportunity was established. He gave up on the city because he thought there was no way to save it. If we do save it,
He'll come back.
that is my thought.
Yeah.
And we'll be much stronger.
Say that
Okay.
now.
You're all right. You're all right. Listen, what we're gonna have to do is shore up our power base. If we can get Coleman Young elected, he can take out all sorts of problems in our way. See if we can get into the governor's office. Has anybody had any luck? Della? What about Detroit Renaissance? Anybody in there?
Can't get any of them. No one knows what's going on. Any of them that we did have any sway, pull, connection, they're all gone.
I'm
Guard
not.
left, and so did that.
My apologies. I'm not in per se, but I'm aware that they do sit atop a few boards in the universities.
Okay. Is that a way in? But we've got to find out what they're doing. All I see is them putting up big posters of smiling people saying, hey, check out Detroit, new Renaissance. What does that even mean? You know what I'm saying? I don't like it.
What about experience? Nichols has no experience in politics at all. Whereas there's a
Right.
state senator pushing for better funding, better allocation of resources. If anyone knows how to do politics, it would be Coleman Young, not Nichols. If we push that angle, it may.
That
Well, it's
ain't gonna
better than
stop all those folks out in the boondocks from voting for Nichols.
No, it won't. But it
Ability
might.
only matters if you care about who's actually good at the job.
All I'm saying is that we need to give. Right now, this whole thing is about race, right? We're not
Yeah.
saying the word race, but it's about race. So what does that mean? That means
Yeah.
every single white person is getting more and more antsy by the second. We change this to be about something else. Respectability, intelligence, anything else, a distraction. We change the conversation from race directly and
Children.
maybe have an
People care about children. Can this be about children somehow?
if people are getting shot in the street by stress. Bad people know children cannot exactly go playing, can they?
What we need is someone in the suburbs be shot by stress. If they overstep and start becoming a threat to the suburbs, that might pull some people away.
If you want an execution ordered, it can be done.
No, we have to be more subtle than that. See,
You do subtle?
Della, I am appalled.
Just,
You
just
think that
general
is not
question.
possible for me to throw down the flash? Listen, Prince, I don't know if the Lord will forgive me if I do something so drastic. But I do know that I am capable of making that happen.
I think, look, I think that Kasim is right. We can make about something else because no one's talking about race, but that's what it's all about. But if you've got the Inquisition, then it's not just about race, it's about us. That
One
means
thing
we're
at a
being
time.
targeted.
We are, but we would be anyway. No offense, look at where all of us hold holdings. You're not in control or connected to a church, Reverend. It's the black church. I came here with a bunch of Arab auto workers. Vampire or not, this isn't good for us, regardless. The difference is that we're being blamed for something we have no control over. He's using all of this as an excuse to tighten grip. So it begs the question, why? It's not just about power, but why does he think? I'm going over it in my head, and I just do not know what specifically tipped him off to us.
That's a very good question. They've got intel.
Wait. Yes.
Someone's telling them where we are, where our pads are, where we crash. There's a knock on the door. Bao goes over and opens, and the advisor enters again. And she looks a bit distressed, I think is the best way to put it. Senora sort of comes up and she starts speaking, and she realizes she's speaking in Portuguese, and she sort of switched over and she goes, I've got to call. Distress. They have done a raid on a drug house. The people inside were armed, and they had to shoot all of them. They were all practitioners of the higher mysteries. All of them. There were two of my acolytes. They were meeting with a priestess. Someone Elena knows. Santeria. There was a young man learning Budon. And there was a grandfather from Korea, also a practitioner of the mystical healing arts. They were studying. I've had them studying because something is happening in Detroit. Something is happening with the mystical flow of this city.
There's been a block.
Yes. I've felt it too. You have?
Yes. I was hoping it was just me.
No, I felt it as well. We have been doing much to help heal people of their ailments, but our strength is waning. It seems every day there is something rotting in this city. It is growing like a cancer. It is blocking out all of the mystical energy. becoming more difficult, and one of my little birds have told me that they hit one of my study groups half-hour ago. I don't know how they knew where that study group would be. They meet a different place each time. Not always the same people. Prince, the vision I had of fire. When I was in Sao Paulo, I saw Detroit on fire. And I saw it turn into a machine like a furnace. And it ate everyone. And I thought that inferno was the uprising from 6 years ago, but I don't think it was. I think my vision of the great inferno setting this place on fire is yet to come. They are not out of the woods. My prince. And she sort of makes a bow, and she looks at each of the Primogen here, and she stops and she says, "Where is Senorita Ochoa?"
Delayed. She was drawing lines upon the ground, found herself lost. Something was keeping her from here.
Should not be possible. There are some terrible workings. I will see if I can do something on my end. Prince, we shall meet in yours afterwards to discuss. She nods and leaves.
I'll pray for your people.
She nods deeply. And she looks at you and she says, "Your people speak with snakes at times. The mystic power is not far from you. It is only waiting for you to tap into it." The line between spirit possession of the Holy Spirit and of all of the Orisha is a very thin line. Then she exits.
Well,
Well, do we have other business before the Elysium tomorrow? We're going to have all of the kindred in the city there. It'll be in Bao's bigger restaurant. You know the one, the Golden Dragon. We will have them all there tomorrow night. We're going to have something to say to them, so they're ready for what is going to come.
Fine, I'll be the one to say it. Is this really a good idea? We're being more threatened every day. People are attacking us, coming to our havens. Is this really what we want to do?
I dig what you're saying. Reverend says that we need a show so that our people can have faith. If we don't meet, what will that say to them?
lose if we hide. It's that simple.
Look, it's drastic times, and we have to make equally drastic measures. I'm sorry.
Well, we do everything here democratically. It should be a vote. Elysium tomorrow, yes or no? Della, or vote.
Sure, why not?
Roscoe,
This,
Della, please.
I said at least we'd get everyone together and could talk to him.
Roscoe? Ha! I'll tell you what. If I'm there, no one's gonna dare do anything tricky. I vote yes. Reverend?
In this particular case, I feel like I am compelled to vote yes.
Davis? I'm sorry, absolutely not. My people don't have the strength in numbers that you have, so no. Okay. Lottie.
Yes.
Kasim.
As usual, I've said my piece. I abstain.
The Elysium will go forward, but Cass, you can. I leave to you and the sheriff. I know that you have met maybe once or twice. Fatima, you can. I will leave security. I will loop you in with security. You can speak with her about making sure everything is safe. I will have Blue Jean come and speak with you as well. She's not necessarily a fighter, but she can help.
Of course.
Try to make this as secure as possible. And maybe we have it somewhere else. Last minute change.
Might do a lot.
Look, I will ask you, Della. Your kind have always been the most resourceful and the most safe. Could we meet somewhere in the sewers?
That could be arranged.
I would feel safer in your backyard.
As long as no one minds getting dirty.
I hope not. Because I suspect before this election time comes, we're all going to get dirty.
When she said that, she looked at the Reverend. And Reverend, every so often there's just like a random bug around you.
Listen, I think we can't say 100%, but we may have a mole somewhere in our community. Let's see if we can find out who it is. But I will see you all tomorrow night. Have a good devil's night and be safe. If John Nichols is elected mayor in 7 days' time, it will be bad for all the living and unliving souls in Motor City. Can you dig it? Okay.
Yes.
Have faith.
Prince stands. Picks up the cigarette, realizes it's gone out again. Pats Kasim on the shoulder, nods, gives everybody good fist pound in the fists, slips some skin, and heads out. And you can hear motorcycles. It's the Black Vikings. his gang is going to escort him back home, leaving you all alone with Roscoe and Davis, and not Elena, who is somehow lost in the room by yourself. And Roscoe goes, "Well, I'm going to take my leave. I'm going to go and show those young whippersnappers how to ride a motorcycle." He gets up, puts his cane down, which he doesn't really need, and sort of hobbles his way out. Sort of like as he moves closer to the door, his sort of demeanor becomes more and more old man. And once the door opens, he seems like just that old man. And Davis, who's got a foot on a chair, leans back, looks at you all, once the door closes, and says, "So, who do we think the mole is?"
Not to be rude, but I think that question is quite funny coming from a gangrel.
Really?
Oh,
Low-hanging fruit. I couldn't help myself.
yeah. There was only one person not here tonight.
Elena wasn't. She felt unsafe and uncomfortable. If it was her, she'd be in total control.
That's what she'd have
Fair.
you believe.
She didn't know I was listening, and more importantly,
You really think she doesn't know? The Tremere?
I wasn't using magic. I was just using ears. But I felt it. I felt what May said. If Elena was using some form of war to protect her or her prince or this city, it would have been more difficult than ever to achieve, which means that more likely for side effects to occur. She may have warded herself, been stuck in circles.
And Davis gets up and they walk over to the window to look out on the street as this conversation happens, just to see, right, the traffic pass.
I still think this Elysium is a bad idea.
I agree. Oh,
I don't
look.
think we have a better choice.
The fires have started, Davis says as she looks out the window. It's Devil's Night, they always. Oh, the kids love to start fires on Devil's.
You really got to get them children away from thinking about devils and things of that nature. Like, that is just. They are not walking the path anymore.
Nobody here owns that small comic book shop 3 blocks over, right? It's on fire.
Davis. Now, I know you got a particularly sensitive nose and palate. You think you know if any of these boys out here are from the other side of the wall?
That's a good question. I'm smelling. Wait. Smelling gasoline.
In here?
No. Out there.
I thought
And
the
at that
fires were.
moment, there is a massive explosion outside on the street. Like dynamite has gone off. And you can see the echo, right, of the flame sort of come through the window. And Davis doesn't move except to close her eyes as the sort of the orange dies down. And she turns to you all and she says, "That was the car the prince and Masonora were driving."
I thought the fires would come before, but they are still yet to come. I see your success brought through. Ah, shit!
Someone just killed the prince.
I need to check on Roscoe. And I I think Della and I both rush out.
As you two
could we
rush
see
out down the stairs, yes? Go ahead.
the direction that he was going? Could we see it from the window?
Yeah,
What floor are we on?
third.
We can jump out the window, right?
That would be a clear breach of the masquerade. We can't just start jumping out of windows all willy-nilly.
I
His
mean,
car's on fire. It's on fire.
We should not be near any fires. There ain't no saving one of us if we're in a fire.
I wave the Reverend off. I hit the window and I go out the front door.
I rush down as well.
Yeah.
Basically arm in arm. I'm not concerned about the prince right now. I think the prince is a lost cause. I'm concerned about Roscoe.
Yeah. When you hit the floor, Lottie, what do you do? Because right now, Davis, Lottie, and the Reverend are up here on the third floor. As they
I
rush
think,
the floor.
yeah, Lottie is frozen. They're trying to think, what do I do next? If I stand still, I seem complicit. If I run, I risk my life. That's where she stands.
A flock of pigeons in the middle of the night fly by the window in a panic. And you can see a reflection of a neon light coming through the window, sort of bleeping in and out against the wall because the light's now sort of dimmed in here. And it's from a place across the street, like a travel agent. And it just says, Kane, not vacation, flickering through the window.
Is Davis
And on the
moving?
floor-
Davis doing anything? I'm sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and on the
Continue.
floor, there's a salt shaker just on the floor. And Davis is watching, and you can see that she seems to be trying to hear voices from another place. It's as if she's sort of placing herself in sort of a trance to try to see beyond the veil. She looks as if she's just being chill, leaning up against the window, but you can tell that she's not necessarily here, that she's sending her mind out to hear, to see the smell of death. Which means functionally, it's only Lottie and the Reverend who are really here on this floor.
Reverend, your thoughts.
Give me just one single moment.
Of course, take all the time you need.
I grab Davis and I turn her to face me.
You turn her to face you, and she's hovering, right, in and out of this place. And as you turn her, her eyes sort of, they do not shift in her physical body, but in her metaphysical body, her eyes start shifting into this place. And then she blinks.
As soon as she locks eyes with me, I'm going to use mesmerize.
Give me my resist.
Your resist is going to be into resolve.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That is gonna be 70-10. Roll 6, then plus 1 more. Ooh, that's a terrible roll, my friend.
Ooh, wow, that is bad.
Yes, that is terrible. Please roll.
Give me one moment.
While that's happening, you two make your way to the floor, and you can see people panicking. People are running. The streets are sort of hectic, right? The Black Vikings are on their motorcycles, and they were there's gonna be like a convoy around this beat up old car with blacked out windows that the prince and his advisor were driving that is now on fire.
Roll.
And they seem in shock and not sure what to do. And you can hear, oh, yes, you can hear already the sounds of sirens. Perhaps a little too fast.
I would like to rouse for fleetness.
I will rouse for obfuscate.
And
Obfuscate.
I'm gonna learn to say that word before this game's over.
Just like Trooper and Stamisi?
Yes. And you can see Roscoe. He is heading towards the car.
I'm going to rush ahead of Roscoe and like rip open the car door. Like I said, I've kind of given up on the prince. I'm going to try and get May.
I need a fear frenzy. We got some fire here.
So resist frenzy.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
That's weird. How 4 successes does not resist frenzy?
No, that is a success. Remember, the sheet
dice,
does not know what it's talking about, right? You resist. This is your primal fear, right? And as you get to the door, I'm going to need a wits alertness from you two down on the floor, you two down on the ground, from Della and also Kasim.
Wits
Awareness.
Alertness. Yeah. Thank you.
I still have heightened senses up. Luckily, I was not. Yeah.
And Della, where are you in this space? Oh, you're muted.
I'm muted in too many places. Sorry, 1 second.
I'm gonna willpower that.
I just broke my roll 20.
It happens. It happens.
Oh wow. Okay. 2 successes.
That's willpower. I see. Yeah. 2 successes. Yeah. Fine. Della.
Hits. There we go. 2 successes?
Would you like to re-roll 3 of those by using a willpower?
Yes.
Just roll 3d10.
Two successes?
Okay. That's 4.
4 successes.
Where are you, by the way?
So I wanted to run out behind him. And I'm not I'm not running directly towards the car. I'm looking for anything that could give me an idea of what happened or a witness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when I say I'm looking for a witness, I don't care what they are. As long as they have eyes and could have witnessed this, I will.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to find them.
Yeah. So, two things. You both see something that is related, and I'm going to tell you what that is before we. No, you don't get to know, but I'm going to tell you it's bad. Upstairs, we have a mesmerize going on. Yes. Mesmerize, which works, by the way.
Excellent.
Let the chat
I
know
look.
how this is going to be.
Yes. So, y'all understand what's happening here. I look back at Lottie and I go, we're going to find out if she is the spy insider.
I think the word she used was mole, which I found hilarious.
And then I take a nail and I cut open my wrist and I make her drink.
And she does as if it's just like a Wednesday. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like a pretty chill thing. And
All I say is drink.
And, like, you can tell that, like, in her mind, she seems to be, like, listening to some tunes. It's, like, the most chill, normal thing whatsoever as she drinks deep of your blood.
Get that first level blood bond going on.
One of the Primogen Council first level blood bond.
Great.
With a witness.
We gonna need to talk at some point. You,
She
Lottie.
opens her.
I appreciate you.
And
She doesn't say anything.
You watch it. You see this happen. But you don't say anything. Down on the street, Kasim, you rip this door open as sirens are coming. Now you, if I remember correctly, know the police somewhat, yes? This is too fast of a response time. They should not be here this close, this soon, especially in this neighborhood. The only thing that makes sense to you is that they knew this was coming.
Yeah.
And you see something when you look in the door. The prince has turned to ash. You can tell from his clothes that he has caught fire. May, she is still okay. She's not on fire yet, right? She has not turned to ash. She could be saved if it were not for the gunshot hole right through her forehead, in the lack of a back of her head. And the gunshot hole that's right there in the windshield. Della, you see two things. A rat, dead, with a heroin syringe through its neck, dropped at your feet. And there's a little glint, little flash. And if you follow the spark across the way a few buildings on the roof, you catch it. The glint of a sniper scope.
If you said words, you're muted.
Oh, I'm hoping it doesn't see me.
The sniper scope, the glinting is gone. Whoever it was that was up there seems to have gotten their target.
Okay, good.
And, my friends, as the popo comes y'all are gonna have to go because this place is gonna be locked down. And that is the end of our episode 1. That is the end of our first of 8 episodes of Motor City Hollow Crown. This is Devil's Night. So we're gonna go around and we're gonna say who we are, where we can find you next. I would like you all to give love to somebody else at this table, who's not me, and then say, who are you voting for Prince the next time for next week? Because next week is gonna be Halloween. You've got an Elysium, and yeah. Also,
Yeah.
Roscoe was gonna go charge into that fire, but you got there before he did. And he probably would have not as been as good at resisting that frenzy. So it was probably really good that you were there and not him. Well. Let's start going backwards. Werewolf, you first. Who are you? Where can we find you? Thank you for being here. And give some love. And what are you thinking about the next Prince? I'm not going to hold you to anything, by the way. I'm not going to hold you to whatever you say. You can change your mind.
Hi everyone, my name is Nordine Lee, but people often call me Werewolf. My pronouns are he, him, and you can catch me online at Werewolf Feels, wherever werewolves can be found. I'm also known for being a Zom over on the Starfinder podcast, The Atom List. Just look for The Atom List, as in less a thing that's smaller than a molecule, and you'll be sure to find it. I'm also working on several different projects right now, but most of them are pretty hush, and there's a lot of consulting going on in my future.
Ooh.
Of course, you'll see me back next week for this, and I cannot wait. Right. So give some love. Of course, my love is going to go to Prince for making a character that seems perfectly designed to aggravate me in the best way possible.
Yes.
And as for my vote, Della would make a great Prince in that she is not me.
I feel like right now we're just noting there's a little bit of campaigning that's going on, just a little campaigning, a little pre-campaigning for next week. Also, gonna just note, beginning of next week, I'm gonna ask you all what your desires are for that session, so you can get some stuff back. But since we're going backwards, because I don't want April to always go first, because I do care. Vin! Who are you? Where can we find you? Give some love to someone at the table. And then also, who would you like to campaign for? And this, when I ask the question about who you want to campaign for, this is mostly just so you control people. So go ahead.
Oh my gosh. Hi, guys. I'm Vin at VinVoxVA on Twitter. I'm a voice actor and tabletop performer. I'm also Crit Award nominated Best Vampire Player. Oh my gosh. Y'all should vote for me or something. I also have a little referral from D10s by NFL. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but check my Twitter. I'll be retweeting. And if you guys buy some fancy custom dice, they're super cool, super cute, super sharp. I'll get a little something. Love, I'm going to give love to April D. Raygun. I love Della. And I guess Della for Prince. Let's go.
Dipples and Dice, you are next. Who are you? Where can we find you? Give some love. And this is the moment for trolling. Who would you like to campaign for Prince?
Hello, everyone. I am Prince, also known as Dimples and Dice. I am a he, him. You can find me at Dimples and Dice all of the places. You can usually find me on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time running Wayward Revelry, a D&D 5e game based in Wild Beyond the Witchlight with a little bit of a twist to it. I'm also here, and I have other stuff coming up you'll see very, very soon. I am also a Crit Award nominee for Best Vampire Storyteller. So if you want to get out there and vote, your boy ain't gonna be mad about it.
Already voted, by the way. For you.
Well, thank you. As far as showing love. Well done from the storyteller. I'm gonna give some love to the storyteller. As a storyteller, I feel like I'm in a position to show love to storytellers for setting up the world real nice, like so you can fuck us all up by blowing up the prince. You know? And then what else am I supposed to do?
Who do you vote for, Prince?
Yeah.
Oh, who am I voting for? Well, here's the thing.
Trolling.
I'm going to vote for this wonderful Gangrel who's representing everyone. Because that would absolutely be in everyone's best interest.
Oh,
Including
shut
mine.
up. Okay.
This is the best trolling ever, and I love it, and I am here for it. April, who are you? Where can we find you? Give some love and your time for trolling when it comes to electioneering.
Hello, my name is April. You can find me all over the internet as April Raygun. I do a bunch of stuff. I'll just tomorrow see me over on That's How We Roll, where I play Nira the Kobold Bard. Where I'm gonna be ridiculous. And a bunch of other things. Just follow me. It's easier. I would like to give some love to Vin. I can't wait until you go full horrible. I know it's
What?
coming, and now that you have this information about the Reverend and what they did when we all ran out the room, I can't wait to see what you're gonna do with that.
Mhm.
And you know what? For who should we have? I'm gonna vote for myself. April's voting for Della. Della doesn't want to win, but actually, that's why I think Della would make the best one because she doesn't really want it, and it would be more of a like an actual job instead of like a power grab. To vote for me is
So-
Prince, 1973.
1973. I just would like to note that I'm really excited about our dual elections, our dual campaigns going on for this season of Motor City Hollow Crown for Prince and also Mayor. Probably not the same person because it's really hard to be a mayor when you're undead, but I'm excited to find out how that's gonna go. Thank you, and I'm troopersjp, and I have been your storyteller for this first of 8 episodes. Next week will be Halloween. Each episode will be one night, and we will end with the election. Our players have got their work cut out for them. There's a lot to go on, and I'm gonna just say everything is very upfront. There are no weird things going on behind things. It's just super, super upfront. Absolutely, 100% of the time.
What's
I'm
the
gonna give my
inside check
love.
on this game?
Oh, I failed it. You don't have to worry about it. I'm totally lying. I'm totally lying. There are mysterious things going on. So I want to say, look, I want to give love to Werewolf for saying, hey, maybe we should not have the Elysium if we're being targeted. I want to give love to, good characterization. I want to give love to Dimples and Dice for being like, hey, I can help out with this election. I am here for you. In a way that I'm sure was in no way maneuvering or political, just totally altruistic the entire time. 100%. I want to give love to April. I really loved how Della was like, no, I'm out in the street too. Like running into the danger. That was like very bold for oh, I'm in the shadows. No, I'm finding out what's going on. Love it. And I want to give love to Vin for watching. Specifically, watching that last moment and noting everything. That was to put a chill down your spine just by saying, I just watched. I was like, yeah, that is brilliant. Brilliant. And I want to thank our sponsors, Willem TW. Thank you, Willem TW, who takes notes for us. And without Willem's notes, I don't know where I would be. And also, KY Hawkeye has come back to our sponsorship. And thank you, KY Hawkeye, who does a really cool wrestling thing on Wednesdays. So thanks to our sponsors. And we got a donation in a tip, and I want to read that out. We got 100 bits from Stormbender. Thank you, Stormbender, who says, Motor City Masquerade, do tell. Yeah. Hey, they've kept the masquerade, by the way. They did that with no problem. I want to thank our raiders as well for being here. Thank you. And you can find me, what is today? Tuesday? You can find me on Friday on my channel, this channel here at 7 p.m. for the Travelers, my Traveler campaign, The Gamblers, Traveler Pirates of Drynax, Southern Gothic on Sunday night at 8 p.m. over at Practical Euphoria called Carousel Court, and Montreal by Night, another vampire game at 8:30 on Mondays over at Wandering DM's channel. So, we are going to go. And I want to say thank you so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I want to just see if there's anybody really exciting that we can raid, because I feel like we should just do a good check on that one. Hello, raid? Raid? No, yes. Okay, who's up? Okay, we are going to go and raid Magitech, Miss Magitech, because Miss Magitech also does some World of Darkness. So we're gonna do a little bit of raid of Miss Magitech, go and give them some love, and we will catch you all. And the raid, by the way, is gonna go at the end of our credits. So I want you to see our gorgeous credits because they're awesome. And they have all of our Patreons in there, so thank you for all the Patreons. Thank you for supporting the show. 8 sweet episodes, and I'm gonna give them some XP. So catch you all on the flip side. Ciao, everybody.